Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. It is Tuesday, and it's the 15th day of 2023, halfway through August already. And a lot to get through tonight. So, again, thank you for clicking on. We're going to be touching a little bit more on the things I talked about China the other night. Had some emails and people reaching out wanting to know a little bit more about some of the things I talked about. We'll touch on that. Also, we're going to look at some of the things that are being talked about in regards to Maui, um, which I think you might find interesting. I hope so, anyway. So again, thanks for clicking on, and let me see here. Let's see if we can get to it. Hold on a second. Let me put my glasses on and say hello to Diana Hodges Jackson. Princess Diana, how are you? Hey, Guy Bassett. Thank you for the email the other night. I know, or the comment the other day. Hi, not going away. I know that notifications aren't going out to everybody like they should, and I can't control that. YouTube handles that, unfortunately, but here we go. Let's get into tonight's thing. Again, thank you all for being here. Hang on a second. Let me do this. And so I can get a monitor shot up, hopefully. Well, in the meantime, I'll try to multitask here as I try to refresh this other computer. I always be kind. What you're looking at right now is a website called The Thinking Shop, SHOP, thethinkingshop.org. And there we go. Yes. All right. Good. I can see the chat on the other screen. Good. Hey, Mo, how are you? Good to see you. This is the Thinking Group the Thinking Shop .org. It is a nonprofit, and they've got a deck of critical thinking cards. They've got a deck of creative thinking cards. You can bundle the creative and critical thinking cards and get the posters as well. And again, this is a nonprofit, but if you want to get somebody something and you think they could benefit from critical thinking or creative thinking, this is a good place to go. It's thinkingshop.org, and it'll increase their thinking, hopefully. And if you want to download it, you can download it for free down here at the PDF. Again, this is a 24 logical fallacies, 24 cognitive biases, a bonus game cards. So again, critical thinking for business is also in here, and the name, thethinkingshop.org. So that's our opening for tonight, and we'll move on to this. I'm going to touch on this just for a moment here. Once again, this afternoon, more doomsday planes in the air. And this is just incredibly uncommon. This has been going on for at least 10 days. 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 of the what are known as doomsday planes are in the air. And so this is not a drill. Something is going on. Once again, had a nuke sniffer up, and it was down by the Gulf. Had a nuclear missile control plane, the plane that can fire any nuclear missile anywhere in our arsenal. It was flying back and forth, kind of over with Kansas kind of in the middle, back and forth from Old Foot Air Force Base in the north down to the southern border, and then back up and then back down. And then finally, one of the presidential planes was in the air, and it made a really interesting pattern. It came down here and went over. It went over to Nashville, and then it went over to Knoxville, and then it went over to up to Columbus, and then it came over to Indianapolis and back, and did the loop again. So it's this time it went over St. Louis. So it was kind of making almost a circle over over airports. This is just my analysis, okay? It was making a circle over airports that have long enough runways for it to land, because while it can be refueled in the air, it at some point does have to land, and without using any of the bigger cities that might be more targetable, such as Chicago, New York, the East Coast, the cities in Houston or Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and then the West Coast. I don't know. Again, I don't think these are drills. I think these might be practice runs, just in case. And it really bothers me that they're spending so much time on the Gulf of Mexico. I've got family down there in Florida and friends in Texas, and it's just really concerning. They've got nuke sniffers and sub hunters. Now, what does that mean? Logically, the first thing you're probably going to think is Russia or China. I personally don't think that, and I'll tell you the reason why real quick. China, in my opinion, China wants to win a war with us without ever having to fire a shot, and I'll get to that in just a moment. However, I think China might be behind, possibly pushing North Korea in a direction that we don't want North Korea to go. So my concern is that North Korea has submarines and are crazy enough to use the nukes, and that's a whole different episode, which we will get to later on this week. All right. Speaking of China, this is from India, basically the story of the. This is basically India's covering of the
HIV, hepatitis, and herpes. The potential ramifications of this alarming discovery cannot.
This is an Indian station covering the discovery of the Chinese biochemical lab in California.
Be overstated, as the illicit operation put countless lives at risk. Reports indicate that the unlicensed facility was a stockpile of a wide range of infections, including blood tissue and serums. This raises serious concerns about the origin of these viruses and the intentions behind their storage.
Okay, why would India be concerned? Well, China shares a very long border with India, so India pays special attention to what China's doing. Here's the American version of that report about the drug lab in California operated by the Chinese, and some of the things that were in it.
Hours kind of trying to dig
into
this.
You went down this rabbit hole.
I was just like, what the hell is going on? Is this as insane as it appears on the surface? And the answer actually is yes. So let's put this up there. The first person to flag it to me was Kyle Bass, who put out this tweet. And we're going to go through some of the actual allegations in here. It says, quote, an illegal secret Chinese bioagent lab has been raided by the FBI, the CDC, and California Public Health Department in Fresno County, California. The CDC's Division of Select Agents found infectious bacterial and viral agents at the site, which was listed as an empty building. Bioagents included malaria, rubella, and HIV. He continues chlamydia, E. coli, numerous other types, hepatitis B and C, herpes 1 and 5. The lab had, quote, 900 genetically engineered mice designed to carry various COVID strains living in inhumane conditions with another 175 that were actually found dead. Okay, so let's look at the actual details, and it appears actually that many of them do add up. So let's go to the NBC News report. So the NBC News report specifically did not they did not ascribe the origin and the connections to the Chinese Communist Party in this, but they do actually confirm something key. One, this was an illegal, unlicensed laboratory full of lab mice, full of medical waste, and full of hazardous material. The Fresno County Public Health Department, quote, evaluated and assessed the activities of this unlicensed lab, and what they found is that with multiple state and federal agencies determined biological and chemical contents that were actually on site, including coronavirus, HIV, hepatitis, and herpes. So they actually confirmed, some of the.
Okay, so not only are they manufacturing or warehousing chemical or contaminants that maybe they're bringing in from China. I don't know if they're manufacturing them there or if they were holding them there. It doesn't take, you don't have to be a massive critical thinker to connect the dots between a whole bunch of lab mice that they have infected with coronavirus and how many people in the United States were convinced not to get a coronavirus vaccine to see that the potential of attack is not out of the realm. Again, just my opinion, China would like to win a war with us without firing a shot. How would they do it? This is one of the ways right here, what we just talked about. Secret Chinese police station in New York led to arrest. This was about 3 months ago, for those that don't remember it. And this is Fox News 5 out of New York. The purpose of the Chinese police station was to monitor Chinese American citizens and Chinese citizens, not dual citizens, still living in the, or not still, but currently living in the United States temporarily. Temporarily was the word I was looking for and stumbled on. Temporarily living in the United States to make sure that these people with Chinese origins remain loyal to China. Again, that's not by coincidence that police station was there. It's not coincidence that this Chinese lab was in California and found. It was found in March, but it wasn't really reported until 2 weeks ago, around the same time that this was reported. 2 Navy sailors arrested for selling military secrets to China, according to the Department of Justice. Now, this came out on NBC News 12 days ago. And again, I mentioned this the other night, some reasons why I have concern about what's going on with China. China is not overtly hostile towards us, which puts us in a less wary position. We are very wary of Russia. We are very wary of North Korea. We are trying to maintain maintain trading statuses with China. So we don't want to aggravate them. They appear to not want to aggravate us. I think it's just lulling us into a false sense of security personally. And that's just a concern. All right. It's not a statement of that's what's going on. It's just that's kind of what I see potentially happening as we add all these things up. And after the Navy sailors, United States has concerns over China's activities in Cuba. Cuba's 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and China has at least a listening station, if not an actual base in Cuba. So I don't know how many of you knew that, but these things do add up. And also, we throw this on top of it. Come on, load up. Loading. Well, come on. There we go. 10 Chinese immigrants detained after landing on Sunny Isles Beach. This was in Florida. I mentioned this the other night, and again, this was one of those,
Want to use I-95 express lanes for free? Go to carpoolmiami.com. Register your carpool or find a carpool
I don't
to
want you
join.
to play.
Once 3 people are in your carpool, you get to use the I-95 express lanes for...
All right. I didn't want you to stop either. Daggone it. Okay. Let's get rid of this. All right. Sorry about that technical difficulty. I'm the producer, the director, and the writer and chief bottle washer. Authorities responded to a migrant landing on Sunny Island Beach Monday morning in what federal officials characterized as a suspected maritime smuggling event. According to U.S. Border Patrol, 10 Chinese nationals made it ashore. The landing happened near the Newport Beachside Hotel and Resort. And Sky 10 flew over the scene at around 11:30, where a group of police officers gathered near a pile of items. While we were in the hotel, we saw like cops and sirens, and we were a little bit confused. This is witness Diego Corvadero. He said apparently they were saying they came in a boat, and there were like 10 or 15 of them, and they caught like 4 or 5 over there. Okay, so again, it's not easy to get out of China, and it's a long way from China to Bermuda, and then from Bermuda to the United States in a small boat. And I don't think these are people that are without skills. Okay, I don't think these are like people running away, fearing for their lives. I could be wrong, and one final thing that people question was, I mentioned Chinese migrants at the southern border. Everybody wants to think it's just Central Americans. Border Patrol apprehensions, these are just the ones they're catching at the southern border. Here it is in 2023. They've caught 4.3 thousand Chinese migrants trying to get across the border, the southern border. Why? How'd they get into Central America? How'd they get out of China? Where'd all the money come from? Again, to me, this all adds up to China trying to win a war without firing a shot. Again, I could be totally wrong, but one final thing before we get into our Twitter scroll, I mentioned this as well. The Volt Typhoon malware targeting U.S. critical infrastructures with a living off the land technique. That's a computer term. Microsoft uncovered stealthy and targeted malicious activity focused on post-compromised credential access and network systems discovery aimed at critical infrastructure organizations in the United States. The attack is carried out by Volt Typhoon, state sponsor actor based in China that typically focuses on espionage and information gathering. Microsoft assesses with moderate confidence that the Volt Typhoon campaign is pursuing development of capabilities that could disrupt critical communications infrastructure between the United States and Asian regions. Volt Typhoon has been active since mid-2021. They've had plenty of time, and has targeted critical infrastructure organizations in Guam and elsewhere in the United States. It has affected communications, manufacturing, utility, transportation, construction, maritime, government, information technology, and educational sectors. So, that doesn't leave a lot that it hasn't impacted that Microsoft knows about it. I'm guessing it's probably impacted the financial realm as well. We just probably don't know about that yet. So that takes us to our X-Files Twitter scroll, and time for me to grab a quick drink and say hello to Lynn Smith, not going away, Guy Bassett, Ken Nall. Heard something about fire hydrants, no fire for the. I'm not sure what you're all talking about, but you continue, carry on. We're going to go in depth now. We've been in depth with China just a little bit. We're going to go in depth in Maui because there's some, well, quite honestly, because one of the people that caught my show on Twitter, X, sorry, Alon, if you're watching, he caught my show on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, and he sent me a DM, and he said, the media is not telling anywhere near the truth. I live here. The media is not telling you the truth of what's going on in Maui. So we're gonna look at a few things here over the next few minutes, including this.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm seeing a lot of TikToks about Maui, what's happening here, about the failure of government and relief, about the difficulty of the locals to
He says,
deliver supplies,
I saw the fire start.
help the people that are still stranded and suffering, homeless, sheltered, unsheltered. But I kind of have a special viewpoint because I lived a couple hundred yards away from where the fire started. It started Tuesday morning, early in the morning. I'm going to say 8 or 9. I don't know. I was just getting up and getting ready. The wind was up, but not that bad, just gusting a bit. A little grass fire up the hill. Sirens, police truck, fire trucks came up the hill, put it out. But the power was out by 5 o'clock in the morning that day, so we didn't have anything going on.
Okay, this is a key point right here. The power was out. All right, the electrical power was already out. One of the things that they're blaming is that trees came down on power lines, and that's what started all this. However, the power was out 3 hours before the first small fire was noticed. And the first small fire was noticed and put out as it was put out as we've heard from this witness. Let's continue.
No internet, and then the cell phone signal went down as well.
Okay, so the cell phone signal went down and there was no internet. All of this is between 8 and 9 o'clock with no fire going on. This has all happened before.
There was some trees blowing in my backyard. It was smacking up against the power line of my house, and I was afraid that when the power came back on, that there would be a live wire swinging around in my backyard. There would be a fire hazard. So I went back in the backyard and started cutting down trees, branches, and stuff like that. And I did that for a couple hours, just cleaning up and making good use of the time. I couldn't use my computer or my tablet, my phone, or anything like that. So we just work in the yard. It's windy out, but it's no big deal. It wasn't raining or anything. So I worked for a while and I just laid down because I was exhausted. And when I woke back up at like 2:30 or so, I smelled smoke again, and I went outside into the front of my house, which faces up the hill, up Lahaina Luna. My house was directly on Lahaina Luna just before the bypass interchange, facing Maka. And so I smell the smoke and I look out there and I see the fire is back up there again where it started before. So my hunch is the original one didn't get put out all the way. I don't think it was a down power line because the power had been out at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that little bitty fire that was at 8 o'clock or whatever it was like that, that would have been way bigger if it had been burning and had started from a down power line before 5 o'clock when the power went out. So it doesn't make sense about the power line being down. But I'm seeing a bunch of videos of space lasers and stuff like that, but they're showing a laser. That's CGI, first of all. Let me just say right off the bat. They're showing where it strikes into a neighborhood, and there's no smoke visible. Which
Okay. We do have the video that he's talking about that will be coming up. I'm not sure that that is not CGI. Okay. This is going to be a problem coming up here because there are a lot of unconventional weapons that people aren't aware of unless you watch this show, because we did a whole episode on them, including DEWs, direct energy weapons, which, if anything nefarious happened, and I'm not saying it did, I'm not saying it didn't, I'm saying we're going to watch all this coming up here, and everybody make up their own minds. But if something was used, I think it was a direct energy weapon and not necessarily a laser. I don't know. It just, from what I know about each of the weapons, a laser would have been much more visible, and maybe it was. We'll see here coming up. But direct energy weapons, you're not going to really see necessarily an actual beam, even though one is there. Let's continue.
makes sense to someone that doesn't know, but I'm telling you, I lived next to ground zero for that fire. And my house was one of the first 3 to burn. And I'm telling you that I was standing in my yard and I got hit in the face with a massive wall of black smoke. It just came over the ridge behind my house super fast, burning embers, stones, dust, dirt, gravel, sticks, leaves, stuff that was on fire. High speed, ultra high speed, and incredible heat. Incredible. Like, I can't believe that much heat was coming from what I thought was a relatively young fire.
We're going to show some things that kind of reinforce what he's saying. The amount of heat it took to do some of the things we're going to see, I'm not sure a regular fire would have been able to produce. But again, we'll let everybody judge as we get there.
To the point where I turned my body and ran into a little cubby in my house to shield myself from what felt like a blast, like a bomb blast or a fire tornado, something like that. I had time to grab my keys and jump in my car. When I backed my car out of my driveway, it was so black I couldn't see whether I was going to be running over somebody or not, but I saw flames coming across the street to me, coming down the mountain, and I just gunned it. I just got out of there. There was nothing else to do. But my point is this. The space laser thing is bullshit. I even think the down power line thing is bullshit. Now, whether that fire was intentionally started, I don't know. There's a lot of talk about whether somebody saw a real opportune time to start a massive fire, a fire that was going to burn a long time because there was no communications and no power, no cell phone signal, stuff like that. That's a perfect storm of ingredients to create that kind of situation. So,
Okay. I'm going to pause it here for just a second because I'm going to mention one of the other things that's being said. that this was done by the people that are against fossil fuels, those that are trying to stop all fossil fuels, by trying to demonstrate the danger of climate change. All right, and they're the ones that started these unexplainable fires. Again, I'm just mentioning it because it's out there.
So was it intentional? I don't know. The fact that we're having the difficulty that we are getting supplies to people, even getting back to the site to be able to inspect our land and our structures and reclaim any personal items, cannot. First of all, there's nothing left. It's tragic. I appreciate your contributions to all of Maui community.
Okay. So basically, like he said, he was one of the first 3 houses. And what he describes is a pretty intense fire. This is what the street looks like in Maui. If you haven't seen it, we're not going to play the music on it. Cars burnt into the asphalt. Some cars not touched at all. The car right in front of it burned into the asphalt. It's this almost looks like an apocalyptic scene, at least to me. And again, cars burnt into the asphalt. Some cars not even touched. Logical Black says it looks like a bomb. China letting them know, hey, this could be the first of its kind direct energy weapon attack, or it could be the first of its kind on an experimental basis on a small community, a targeted area, to see just exactly what would happen. Because as we're going to see, not the entire island of Maui was devastated by this massive, huge, incredibly hot fire. There's some questions, and we're just digging a little bit tonight. Don't have any answers at the moment, but the more we dig, the more questions come up. Flashes of light going off. Some people are saying their power, their transformers blowing. Again, that fire, the smoke is going up. Okay, it doesn't look like it's blowing a lot, and it should. I just don't see that being. I think it might be a direct energy weapon. You'll see the thing come in really fast. You'll barely be able to see it. It's just like right there. I think that was a direct energy weapon. And I'm not saying it's aliens. Actually, my first thought was it was probably China or Russia. I'm not saying it's not aliens, but that's not my first thought. Here's another look of some of the activity that was captured. And again, you can see almost a reflection of energy, not necessarily a beam, but almost a reflection of energy. And that leads me to the direct energy weapon, not necessarily the laser. Which again, I'm speculating, of course. We don't have all the answers. Oprah's estate was spared from the Maui fires in Hawaii. Out of all the destruction in Hawaii, not a single blade of grass was burned at Oprah's estate. Not a single blade of grass was burned at Jeff Bezos' estate either, just saying. Conspiracy theorists are just people capable of pattern recognition. It's only a conspiracy until it's proven true. Oprah was just one of the people the other day said that Oprah had been complaining about not having the perfect view of the bay because of one of the buildings in Lahana. This is the chick that we had on the other night. And found this really odd. Fire and Fury, the story of the 2023 Maui fire and its implications for climate change, August 10, 2023. Now, this is the one thing that does lead me to believe that the climate change people might have had something to do with the initial start of this. Again, I can't prove it was a direct energy weapon at all. It may be something as simple as climate climate protesting out of control. I don't know. But I do know that you don't write a book and put a book out. And again, let's go back here.
Maui fires.
Okay. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do the audio. But I do want to show, again, this book was released August 10th of 2023. August 10th. I can't explain that unless they knew something. And this isn't the only book, by the way. There's another one that was out. Again, we got images, another image of the of some sort of disruption. I went to one physics channel and they were discussing this and discussing the math and the DEWs and the lasers, and they said, either one was possible. However, a laser would be much more visible. Okay, everything's about to change. This is from Ron Philip Koski, and he is being sarcastic. The Lindell Election Summit is tomorrow. And it's going to feature Lou Dobbs, Kurt Olson, Steve Bannon, and Laura Loomer, Garland Favorito, Brandon House, Professor Clements, and Kim Paxton. I haven't heard of any of those people, but they're all going to be there, and all these other people, which Mike the My Pillow guy is going to unveil something. Speaking of unveiling something, I don't think I've got a twit up or an X post up about it, but for those that don't know, of course you know about the indictment of Donald Trump and 18 co-conspirators, and possibly some unindicted co-conspirators that may become indicted both at the federal and the state levels. Trump next Monday at 11 a.m. is going to release this top secret dossier that will exonerate him of everything. I imagine that he probably found a blank piece of official White House stationery in all the documents that he had managed to take illegally and hold illegally. And he wrote something up that pardoned himself in advance in case anything like this happened, like he's some kind of, stable genius, which of course is, it'll work with his people. It won't work with the federal government. But that's coming up Monday at 11, and that's my prediction for what that's going to be. On a more serious note, potentially deadly serious. A lot of you know this guy, Danny Jackson. You know him as Danny Wayne, Daniel Jackson. And I don't think he's a stable genius. I think he might be having some emotional problems and maybe some mental problems, and he might be a threat. I'm not the only one that thinks that. Obviously, as one of Washington D.C.'s commissioners, I don't want to get her name right. Hold on a second. Here we go. Patricia Inguino. She says 2 months ago, Danny Wayne, a J6 sympathizer, hung a noose over the Congressional Cemetery wall. We showed that on this program. Today's been posting disturbing comments about killing people in D.C. These are just a couple of the comments he's posted. If you're American, get out of D.C. or perish with the rest. I'm going back to D.C. You're going to need more cops. Those blue lives don't matter. Amen. And all of Congress and government, as you have known, is over. Amen. Actually, that's not far off from a book, from what I've got in my book. Not going to do an ad for the book right now, but I will say it's called America, Land of the Greed, Home of the Grave, and it is worth a read. I will do a small commercial. It's worth a read. You can find it on Amazon. That's the quickest way it'll get to you. It'll get to you in a week or less. It is my Quentin Tarantino novel, and I say that because Tarantino, to him, the formatting of the screenplay was not of importance. It was the content. It was the art, and this is my protest to people that care more about the format of a book than about the story that unfolds. So I did this kind of out of protest. Anyway, it's nothing radical. It's just formatted differently. So buy it, read it. Let me know what you think. Buy a copy for a friend. Again, it's America, Land of the Greed, Home of the Grave, my third novel. So back to the Twitter scroll, or X-Files scroll. X. Another dust plume's coming in from the Sahara into Florida this weekend. Hefty plume will likely push into Florida by the weekend. It will lead to lower air quality, possible irritation, or respiratory conditions. It's the heaviest part's going to come in Saturday and Sunday. You can see the heaviest part right here rolling in. On the bright side, the dust is currently playing a large role in inhibiting tropical activity. So it's holding the hurricanes back, but it's not going to help the air quality throughout Florida and much of the Gulf. Dramatic incident unfolds as a woman fires multiple shots into the air while waving a gun at people in the middle of an intersection. This was in Belmore in Long Island, New York. And let's take a look. Hopefully we'll get through all of this. All right. We'll do it this way. We'll make sure we get through the whole video. This is a direct representation of the temperature of our society. And if we could ratchet things down a few notches, it'd be a whole lot better. I call for that a lot, but I know that's, probably a call that falls on deaf ears. But we really need to chill as a society in this country, and I think this helps to prove that.
She got a fucking gun, yo. Yo, chill, son. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I've never seen that done before. Cop took her out with his vehicle so that she would drop her gun and go down to the ground. But it appeared to be a matter of life and
What
death.
the fuck did I?
It appeared to be a matter of life and death, both to people around that intersection, and then when she puts the gun to her head, of course, to herself. So again, y'all, chill. We need to chill and smile. And some of you may remember the cough drop commercial. Well, it's been memed to Rico Law instead of Ricola. Rico Law. The law, Rico, number one charge in the indictments last night. A quick recap of that. Those charged and arrest warrants have been issued. They have until noon on next Friday, not this coming Friday, but a week from Friday. They got plenty of time to turn themselves in. They've got to turn themselves in by noon of next Friday, or arrest warrants will be issued. There's rumblings in the Trump realm that he's going to say no. He's going to resist arrest. He's going to make them come and get him. I think that would be incredibly stupid, but that's what the rumblings are now. Why do they have this much time? Well, he has that much time because he's got other court cases that he's involved with, and plus he's trying to run a political campaign that is getting weaker and weaker by the day, according to the poll numbers. And Chris Christie has passed Ron DeSantis in New Jersey, by the way, for those that don't know. I'm sorry, not New Jersey, New Hampshire. The first actual primary is New Hampshire. The first caucus, I think, is Iowa, and I think Iowa's before New Hampshire. But anyway, so Trump's campaign, we'll see. He's spending more and more and more and more and more and more and more on attorneys. And he will have to spend even more if other states follow what Georgia has done and file charges against him, as they have filed charges against their fake slate of electors. It would make sense that there would be a conspiracy to get those fake electors to do what they did, and it wasn't their idea. So all of that, that's going on. RICO law. Another reason that there is so much time is not everybody on that list of people charged have the same significance in with regard to the case, or do they have the same clout? And while the cameras will be there when Trump turns himself in, if he does, or if he doesn't turn himself in or turns himself in late, whatever may happen. But the cameras aren't necessarily going to be there when some of these other people might come and turn themselves in and start talking that haven't talked before. Now, if I'm one of the local people that is caught up in this, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm not overly charged or overly sentenced because of something that I thought was just politics, because that's going to be the excuse. All right, anyway, we'll talk more about that because we got plenty of time to talk about this as it comes up. This is a guy that has a little bit. We're going to get a little bit more into the Maui thing here. this is speculation. None of it is, but he's got a still shot of what appears to be a laser coming down and hitting on that mountain in Maui where the fire started, where this guy said he was standing out there and all of a sudden all this stuff started, which would happen if such an explosion happened. But, and he also is pointing to, he's also pointing to Vanguard Group and BlackRock. So, there is a financial angle in all of this. According to this guy, he's got some wide eyes though. So back to a small break while I catch a drink. And this is a montage of all 4 indictments.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Donald Trump was arraigned on a New York Supreme Court indictment with citizens in the Southern District of Florida. Here in the District of Columbia,
A Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment.
34 felony counts of falsifying business records with felony violations of our national security laws, conspiring to defraud the United States.
Criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
We today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Their evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens.
We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Good afternoon.
There we go. A little montage of all 4 indictments against the former president of the United States. Right-wing pastor Kent Christmas urges Christians to, quote, get a hold of some passion, quote, be willing to die, quote, you want to know why the Muslim faith has had its advancements? It's because they were willing to strap bombs to their chest. Just a warning, that's what this guy's going to be saying.
You want
to... Well...
It's because the Muslims were willing to die for their belief. They were willing to strap bombs to their chest. They believed in the afterlife. God, give us some men and women that'll get a hold of some passion in their spirit and said, I will lay down my life for the gospel.
I think this guy might have watched Sam Kinison because he got the at the end of the things there. And, well, monolithic thinking. Not all pastors or people of faith are like that, just as we talk about all the time, not monolithic thinking. You can't think everybody's like this, but, man, what bad representation of what a follower of Jesus is supposed to be. This is the Fulton County Sheriff saying Donald Trump will have his mugshot taken when he's arrested in Georgia as a matter of standard protocol. He also said that he would possibly be in a holding cell while awaiting trial once he turns himself in and is arrested. This is QAnon conspiracy theorist Dave Hayes. He's confident that thanks to Q, Trump is in possession of all electronic communications that will conclusively prove election fraud, and soon the military will start cracking skulls and making arrests. This is a popular Q rhetoric, but we haven't heard from Q in a while, so let's give this guy a listen, just in case you haven't been paying any attention to what the far right whack jobs are saying.
NSA has been scooping up all electronic communications in the United States for decades. Every keystroke, every email, every text message, every data transfer that happens in the United States, NSA has it. They collect it, they have it all. And so when Q says we have it all, Q is not joking. They literally have all electronic communications. So if there is any evidence of election fraud that is electronic, whether it's transferring data, whether it is flipping votes, whether it's emails, text messages, they've got it. Trump was the president.
Okay, one of the things was the votes were sent up to a satellite and then sent back down to France and Italy, where the votes were changed and then sent back up into the satellite and sent back down in the machines.
For 4 years, and he had access to the highest level of information. I have no doubt that Trump knows exactly what kind of fraud happened, where the evidence is, and can probably get it if he needs to.
Yes, he committed the fraud. He's trying to hide the evidence, and he wishes he could destroy it, and probably has destroyed some.
I believe that the military is going to step in at some point and start cracking skulls and making arrests.
One concern about all of this, if there is an uprising of the Trump people, what side the military is on is going to be the side that wins. So that is a legitimate concern or question, however you want to look at it. The same with law enforcement. Whatever side the law enforcement's on, unless they get taken out first, which is part of a lot of their plans, then, well, it's just a plain fact. Whatever side the military's on, that's the side that's going to win. And if there is a military, because normally with what's going on in Maui, we would have resources there. I'm not saying that there haven't been, but I think our military's stretched really, really thin, because we've got a base on Pearl Harbor on Oahu, and it sure seems like we could have supplies over to those people fairly quickly, and it doesn't appear like anything's going on there, which makes me want to believe that something happened there that was out of the ordinary, and they don't want people in there to see it until they figure out what kind of weapon it was. This is another little thing that's been going around. This is flight MH370, the Malaysian airline that totally disappeared. And they're saying now that it was taken into another dimension by 3 alien craft, and that one of the whistleblower things is they've said they're going to bring it back. They'll bring the plane back. We're going to have to dig into that, as I've said before. North Korea says the U.S. soldier Travis King wants to stay because he's unhappy with America's unequal society, quote unquote, and blames, quote, racial discrimination, end quote, in the U.S. Army. So North Korea acknowledging today that they do have that soldier. Trump faces 76.5 years in prison in Georgia. He has a total of 91 counts that could add up to 727.5 years in prison. Plus, he could have the death penalty for charges if it goes to treason. Now, Trevian Kute is one of the people charged along with Trump. She is a former publicist for Kanye West, and she was invited for her role in pressuring a Fulton County election worker, Ruby Freeman. And we actually have that video for those that are wondering if anything is going to be coming out of substance. Stuff's already coming out. You are loose in for a party that needs to tidy up, is how it starts. One thing we don't want you to do is create it. It's not Harrison Ford, it's Harrison Floyd. Harrison Floyd.
over there if you're comfortable. Fine?
Yeah, I want her to be comfortable, but I also want to advise her that there are federal people who are involved here that I don't know who is connected to who. And I really need for her to be as nonchalant as possible with this conversation that we are going to have so that if she does make a decision, she's protected in her decision.
So if somebody's going to flip, this is going to be one of the people that flip. And I mentioned it last night when I was talking about the RICO that there is an incredibly high percentage of conviction rates for RICO because people flip. Speaking of which, this is from Lynn Wood. You probably heard that name with being tossed around as potentially being part of an indictment. And he says that he appeared and testified for an hour and a half, did not seek advice of counsel, did not assert the Fifth Amendment. I answered honestly every question posed to me by prosecutors and members of the grand jury. While I have been and remain an unwavering supporter of President Trump, I have never at any time represented him as a lawyer. I had no involvement in the issues to which my knowledge and understanding were being investigated. While it's not, quote unquote, fun to be subpoenaed, I had nothing to hide and certainly was not involved in any alleged wrongdoings. Notwithstanding that, that's like a fancy way of saying, but truth, I was pleased but not surprised to see that my name was not even mentioned in the publicly released report. That matter is now in my rearview mirror, so I can continue to focus on battling the lawfare being waged against me by the Georgia Bar, the 65 Project, and other deep state litigants. Fulton County DA and her prosecutors treated me with professionally and politely. I appreciate their handling of my appearance before the grand jury. He said nothing but the truth. He didn't have to have the Fifth Amendment, and he didn't seek the advice of counsel. He just got in there and talked. So I imagine the 19 current defendants, at least the top 10, are can translate what that message is. Texas Congressman Ronnie Jackson was arrested at the Amarillo Rodeo 2 weeks ago, and this is just kind of coming to light now. They were trying to keep it a little under the radar, but we've got some footage here. Here's what happened. He was he eventually had to be taken down because of struggling with officers and threatening law enforcement. As you can see.
No, you did not. You came in, you flew in. You were full on. I did ask you to get back. And you did not get back. You better recalculate, mother. Multiple people asked you to get back. No, nobody asked me to get back. Yes, this lady did. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. Everybody here asked you to get back. All right. When multiple officers asked you to get back in the EMS... Nobody asked me to get back. They did. No, they didn't. I was talking to her about her blood sugar and her blood pressure. You were the first mother to say something to me. The first one. Nobody did.
The parents didn't want either of y'all there. We were trying
Nobody said it.
So Ronnie Jackson in a little bit of trouble, but of course, he's a victim, and it's going to be somebody else's fault. That's the irresponsibility triangle. Create a problem, blame someone else, then claim you're a victim. This is Tammy Wilson. Tammy's running for Congress in the 4th District of Ohio. I did some cross-state campaigning with a candidate over there in the 4th District of Ohio when I was running for Congress in Indiana's 6th. And that's actually when I got to campaign with Senator John Glenn. But anyway, Tammy's running over there now. And she says, "Hey, Jim Jordan, um, I have some bad news for you today, you shameful coward. While the media is focused on Donald Trump being indicted in Georgia, we have collected even more proof that you were involved. Brace yourself, Jim. This is bad for you. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If Donald Trump is guilty, then you belong in prison right along with him." This is Jim Jordan's Democratic opponent. And you can look her up, Tammy U.S. Congress, if you want to make a donation. She sounds like she's got a little bit of spunk. But check out her background. Do your diligence. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Donald Trump is guilty, then you belong in prison right along with him. My team has already assembled evidence of all the times you tried to help overturn the election. And tonight we finally wrapped it up. It's all here, Jim. You picked up a bullhorn and you declared dangerous lies. That is why we're going to make sure prosecutors see this. You're on notice, Jim. I'm going to keep holding you accountable for trying to destroy our democracy. And I'm coming for your job, Jim. You are a disgrace to the office you hold. You're a traitor. Your dangerous actions have destabilized our country and you belong in prison. I am embarrassed that you represent our district in Ohio. You have brought shame on our state and our country. And I will not stand by and allow you to continue to undermine our democracy. I will fight you every step of the way. My name's Tammy Wilson, and I'm a strong woman who's going to take you down. All right. So I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry. But again, look her up, do some research if you're one of those kind of people that like to help people that are trying to take down insurrectionist frickin' losers like Jim Jordan, JYM, because of the sex scandal at Ohio State University when he was the wrestling coach there before he was a congressman. In case you're not unaware of that, look that up as well. Here was a live shot yesterday of everyone protesting the fourth indictment of Donald Trump. Again, tons of media out there. And I asked this last night, why wasn't anybody out there? Why wasn't any of his supporters out there if they're so rabid? And there are so many, and they're everywhere. They obviously weren't there. Ivanka's $360 million Vancouver deal is reportedly being investigated by the FBI. This comes from Vanity Fair. Ivanka's $360 million Vancouver deal. The first daughter has her own set of problems, according to Vanity Fair. Donald Trump has a fundraiser coming up, just in case you know anybody in Philadelphia. I do know a couple that live in Philadelphia. I don't think they would be going to this, but I'm damn well certain they aren't going to be going to this. Not because they couldn't afford it necessarily, just because they wouldn't be caught as demons at this place unless it was outside protesting. President Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, announces Thursday, September 14th, 2020, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he will be having a fundraiser, $23,000 per couple or per person. And for $6,000 and $600, you get a VIP reception. For $1,000, you get to be part of the general reception. That means you get to be in the same room with him. So to RSVP or for any questions, please contact Meredith O'Rourke at meredith.theo'rourkegroup.com. So if you want to contact Meredith and get more information, sorry, that's just amazing. But there will be people that will pay it. And there will be people in Philadelphia outside protesting. I can just about guarantee you that. Hey, son, I'm going to need you to clean out the garage. This is a, what's it called? Oh, my gosh, the name of it suddenly escapes me. They have a contest every year at Purdue. You'll recognize it. Rube Goldberg. Ah. Well, anyway, let me play the rest of it here. I should have, again, got caught watching it instead of producing the segment here. That basketball's the last little bit. Rube Goldberg machine. And that's the end. Incredible, dude.
Yes!
Congratulations to that young man and his creative and scientific mind. And let's see if we can give credit to him. It is, oh no, this comes from Awakened Outlaw. So I don't know I don't believe that's his post, but that's who we got it from. Now, from something really, really cool to something really, really cringe. I mean, like absolute freaking total cringe.
You're a fucking immigrant. We have a black immigrant, and she's appointed by Obama, another non-citizen, another non-naturalized non-citizen from Kenya.
This is Nick Fuentes, for those that don't know, right-wing neo-Nazi, incel, hates women, hates everybody that's not a white 20-something-year-old male, as you'll be able to tell.
Presiding over a case of a former president and a job creator and a billionaire and an all-around titan, admired man. And this person is going to throw a wrench in, and so she controls the campaign. She's going to talk to the King of America like this, like they pulled him over for having tinted windows. You're a criminal like anybody else. No, bitch. He's the King of America, you stupid bitch. Go back to Jamaica.
So that's what that clown had to say. Free speech. Predatory land grabbers, as we know who they are, already trying to snatch at Maui land for pennies on the dollar. Realtors, investors, straight land grabbers calling Maui fire victims and making them offers. I've heard word that the state of Hawaii is going to buy the land and make it a memorial so that no buildings can be built there, which would reinforce the idea that the buildings were removed, which is rather ludicrous. But anyway, speaking of rather ludicrous, what you're about to see here is okay. Let's read it real quick here. I'm not even trying to be funny when I asked, but what was the prize? What did they win? Faceable head on in your regular clothes and no flak jacket. Conversation starts at 6 figures, right? I believe it was indeed the winner got $100. The contest is The contest is who can stay inside the circle the longest with the bowl. Yeah, for real. I'm not making this up. And here's the results.
Last one. Well, there is the last one. There, right there is our winner.
There's our winner. Right there's our winner. Now, can we get the bull out of the arena so we can get the ambulance in there and pick up that lady? Yeah, this is only in America. Red, white, and okay. I talked about this last night. I touched on it, but didn't have the footage. A huge explosion was reported north of Tel Aviv last night, and it was suspected that it might be a chemical weapons facility. Georgia judge rules cameras will be allowed in the courtroom if Trump is indicted. He has been indicted, meaning his fourth arraignment is likely to be televised. And Hispanic restaurant owner Richard Goldsmart is a Republican who voted for DeSantis. Now he's panicked because DeSantis' new immigration law forced him to fire 19 members of his staff and pay a $500,000 fine because they are undocumented. So who should we feel sorry for here? Should we feel sorry for this restaurant owner that's a Republican that hired undocumented workers and got fined for it? Because that's what they are trying to portray here. Or should we say, good for this guy because he was paying people, even though it was under the table, keeping his restaurant going, and despite DeSantis, I got my feelings, but this isn't about my feelings. This is kind of crazy. Again, from Ron Filipkowski, a Florida woman doused herself in Diet Mountain Dew to escape or to erase DNA after killing a roommate. She wanted to make sure she didn't have any of her roommate's DNA on her. So she poured Diet Mountain Dew over herself, expecting it to kill everything, I assume. And that is our that's our last little segment of the night. Yeah, poured Diet Mountain Dew all over herself to make sure that no DNA was on her from killing her roommate. I don't know. We got some crazy people. There are crazy people all over the world, I'm sure, but man, we sure seem to have our fair share of them, or more than our fair share at this point in time. So a quick recap here at the end. We went in depth a little bit on China. We went in depth a little bit on Maui, on some of the theories that are out there. And again, it's we give you things to think about and don't tell you what to think or how to think. Just show you things and let you determine your own determinations. That's kind of free will, and that's a good thing in my opinion. And I do want. Oh, I already shut it down. I was going to. I wanted to remind everybody to go to thinkinggroups.org and check out their cards if you so desire. Oakley, it's just somebody driving past. It's no big deal. Don't go barking here at the end. All right. If you want to contact me, you can do so, American Doofus at gmail.com, AMERICANDUFUS at gmail.com. If you'd like to help support the show, and thank you so very much for everybody that has in the past. I got a couple of upgrade things that we're going to be breaking out here that I was able to do because somebody sent me specific money saying, hey, do this and do this with this money, and I did it. So we'll be adding those coming up. Not sure what happened last night, but for some reason the software in the back, I couldn't see the chat, so that's why I did it tonight, and I ended up rambling on a lot and not interacting with chat as much as I should. I apologize for that. I'll be on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and I haven't got the confirmation back yet, but I've got an interview. I think it's going to happen tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so we'll be on a little bit earlier. If the interview doesn't happen, then I'll just have a thing with chat for a while, and maybe have a game or two in reserve in case the interview doesn't go down. But I hope you will click back on, not only tomorrow night, but often. And I thank you for being here now and for clicking on, or for watching at your convenience. If you're not watching live, thank you very much for taking the time to do so. And I hope we've given you some things to think about. That's what we're all about. We will see you very next time. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, hit the notification, leave comments. Namaste. Shalom. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon you. Live long and prosper. Positive vibrations. Much love. Peace. Love you like chocolate chip cookies, and I seriously mean that. You know, I really, really, really do. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. See you next time. Mwah. Peace out.